Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam
Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Samasitam Buddha Sundaranam Kandar Agom Vikamaniya Vishesha Shobha
Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Andani Yasa Sakalem Priya Priti Manti Asyanti Panti Kayanti Jiranti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vigrahasya Govindam
Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam
Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada 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 Sri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakti Shanma Sri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakti Shanma Sare bhai he baba toriya jai Hey baba toriya jai ya prasare bhai he baba toriya jai Krishna Prapti Hoya Hoite Krishna Prapti Hoya Hoite Krishna Prapti Hoya Hoite Prapti Hoya Hoite Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Jitete Koriya Aikya Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Jitete Koriya Aikya Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Jitete Koriya Aikya Aikya Koriya Mane Asha Kana Koriya Mane Arana Koriya Mane Asha Kana Koriya Mane Shri Guru Charane Rati Yese Utama Gati Shri Guru Charane Rati Yese Utama Gati Shri Guru Charane Rati Yese Utama Gati Prasade Pure Sarva Prasade Pure Sarva Jai Prasade Pure Sarva Prasade Pure Sarva Dano Dino Ye Jan Janme Janme Prabhu se Nandido ye Janme Janme Takudano Dido ye Janme Janme Prabhu se Devya Gyani de Prakashito Gyani de Prakashito Devya Gyani de Prakashito Gyani de Prakashito Prema Bhaktiya Uite Avidya Vinashayate Bhaktiya Uite Prema Bhaktiya Uite Avidya Vinashayate Prema Bhaktiya Uite Avidya Vinashayate Mere Gaya Racharito Mere Gaya Racharito Mere Gaya Racharito Mere Gaya Racharito Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adama Janara Bandhu Guru Karuna Sindhu Adama Janara Bandhu Lokana Lokera Jivana Lokera Jivana Oh Lokana Lokera Jivana Aha, Prabhu Karo Doya, De Amare Pada Jaya. Prabhu Karo Doya, De Amare Jaya. Aha, Prabhu Karo Doya, De Amare Pada Jaya. De Amare Pada Jaya, Veda Krishna Jibhavana. Srila Prabhupada Patita Pavana Srila Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada 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 Srila Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Shubhadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Bhakti Satarine Namaste Gauravani Pracharine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda
Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda
Jaya Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama
Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Gaurare. Nitai Gauranga, Gaurare. Nitai Gaurari Ba, Nitai Gaurari Ba. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare.
I'm singing so much.
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo, Haribo, Chandji Radha Kala Chandji Radhe Radha Kala Chandji Radha Kala Chandji Radha Kala Chandji Radha Kala Chandji Radhe Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhaja Jaya Jagannatha Jagannatha Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhaja Jai Nityaleva Vishnu Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivraja Kacharya Stota Sadashishi Mad His Divine Loving Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Nityaleva Vishnu Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivraja Kacharya Stota Sadashishi Mad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Shri Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Shamakunda Radhakunda Gir Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dhama Ki Jai Shri Mayapur Navadri Dhama Ki Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Shri Ganga Mai Ki Shri Jamuna Mai Ki Shri Bhakti Devi Ki Shri Bhakti Tulsi Maharani Ki Shri Hari Nam Sankirtan Ki Brihad Madanga Transcendental Book to Shushan Ki Jai Prasadam Sankirtan Ki Jai Kirtan 50 Celebration Ki Jai Gaur Premanandi All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga.
Hare Krishna. Welcome everybody. Thank you so much for being here for the second day of our festival. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So we're just setting up now, and shortly we will have a class by Her Grace Kamalini Prabhu on Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Thank you so much for being here. After class we will have, it is a half-day fast today, but for the children and those that cannot fast, there will be breakfast prasadam served out. And then we will have our normal kirtan schedule throughout the day, and at noon we will have Arti to Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur here in the Temple Room from 12 to 12:30. And then the kirtan schedule will continue as is posted throughout the day. So thank you so much for being here. And let's welcome Her Grace Mother Kamalini Prabhu. Her Grace Kamalini Prabhu Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Thank you.
I prefer songbook or what? Okay. They are. All right. Okay, since today, yeah, that's good. I just want to put it maybe so people can see. Is it okay? Maybe. So, today being the disappearance day of His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, we'll sing the song to the prayers of the departed Vaishnavas. Amma, can you sing? Probably better. Okay. And this is my son, Amala Harinam. Yeah, it is. Here.
Jaya Nilo Premadana Karuna Pracho Jaya Nilo Premadana Karuna Pracho Heno Prabhu Kota Gela Acharya Thakur Heno Prabhu Kota Gela Acharya Thakur Heno Prabhu Kahamora Swarup Rupa Kaha Sanatan Swarup Rupa Kaha Dasa Raghunatha Patita Pavan Kahamora Bata Juga Kaha Kaviraj Eka Khale Kota Gela Gaura Nataraj Ekakale kota gela Gauranataraj. Gauranataraj. Pashane ko tibo mata Anale pashibo Gauranga gunera Nidhi kota gele pabo Se saba sangira sange Je koila vilas Je koila vilas Se saba sangira sange Je koila vilas Je koila vilas Se sangana paya kande Naro tamadas Se sapasangira sange Naro tamadas Jaya Nilo Premadana Karuna Prachur Hena Prabhu Kota Gela Acharya Thakur Hena Prabhu Kota Gela Acharya Thakur Jai Vaishnav Thakur Vaishnav Thakur Vaishnav Thakur Jai Vaishnav Thakur Jaya Vaishnav Thakur Vaishnav Thakur Vaishnav Thakur Jaya Vaishnav Thakur Jaya Bhakti Siddhanta Swami Prabhupada Bhakti Siddhanta Swami Prabhupada Jaya Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jai Prabhupada. Jaya Guru Deva, Guru Deva, Guru Deva, Jai Guru Deva. Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Gaura Haribo. He who brought the treasure of divine love and who was filled with compassion and mercy. Where has such a personality as Srinivas Acharya gone? Where are my Swarup Damodar and Rupa Goswami? Where is Sanatan? Where is Raghunath Das, the savior of the fallen? Where are my Raghunath Bhatta and Gopal Bhatta? And where is Krishna Das Kaviraj? Where did Lord Gauranga, the great dancer, suddenly go? I will smash my head against a rock and enter into fire. Where will I find Lord Gauranga, the reservoir of all wonderful qualities? Being unable to obtain the association of Lord Gauranga, accompanied by all of these devotees in whose association he performed his pastimes, Narottam Das simply weeps.
His Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki, Anantakoti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki, ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki, Prem Segaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar, Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Ki, Sri Sri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Shamakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki, Yamuna Devi Ki, Ganga Devi Ki, Bhakti Devi Ki, Tulsi Devi Ki, Vrindavan Dham Ki, Mayapur Dham Ki, Sankirtan Yagya Ki, Gaur Premanandi, all glories the assembled devotees, all glories the assembled devotees, all glories the assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Staya Putale Shante. Om Jnana-timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vastaya Bhutale Shimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Iti Namane Shiva Shavanavi Devi Dayataya Kripabdaya Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Dayane Prabhave Namaha Madhuryo Shvala Premaja Shri Rupanuga Bhaktita Shri Gauda Krishna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. First of all, I'm going to be speaking from the Sri Bhakti Siddhanta Vaibhava. And if anybody does not have it, you must get it. After reading all of Srila Prabhupada's books, I'd say it's the most important book to read, because you agree, right? You know, it has, like, because it has the whole history of our lineage, you know, before. You see, like, what Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati went through so that we can be sitting here today in this temple. It's because of him. ordering our Srila Prabhupada, requesting him that he come to the Western world and that to deliver Krishna consciousness. So Srila Bhakti Siddhanta, because it's his disappearance day rather than appearance day, which occurs in February, I'll concentrate more on his later, like on his preaching. So first of all, this book, Bhakti Vikas Swami, he's also quite brilliant and learned Indian languages, knows many languages like Srila Bhakti Siddhanta did, so that he can read all of the periodicals, because every day Srila Bhakti Siddhanta wrote and he spoke, and he wrote and spoke in Bengali, in Hindi, in Oriya, because he's born in Orissa, and then, of course, in English. And he was fluent in speaking and writing in all of these languages. So Bhakti Vikas Swami himself studied all these languages so that he can read all of the periodicals. Now, first of all, he started gathering information and reading, and then he stopped for 20 years and went preaching in like Bengal, in different parts, and so then he came back 20 years later to take up this task. By that time, almost all of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta's disciples had already left their body, so he lost a great deal of personal interviews. But there was a few. Even Sridhar Swami was not speaking anymore. He was still present, but just internally absorbed. And there was one devotee, Jati Shekhar. He was young, very young when he joined Bhakti Siddhanta, so he was still alive, and he gave him, he spent weeks with him. He went and stayed at his house. He had a little cottage in his yard, and he just would interview him. So we're very much indebted that he took the trouble to write these books, because it tells the life of Bhakti Siddhanta, but primarily his teachings. And there's also transcriptions of his lectures as well. And we can learn so much, because it wasn't easy. And at this time, we know the climate. British ruled India for about 200 years, starting off the Indian trading company. Started off as business exchanges, but then gradually, they thought they colonized India and said, this is the crown jewel of the British Empire. They recognized the greatness, but they said, so all we have to do is change these brown Indian people into English people. And so then they'll really be great. So that's their thought. Of course, they think that so much is paganism and, from our scriptures, superstition. And so they didn't have high regard for the philosophy, you can say. But so we see they infiltrated and were very successful in a lot of ways. Then, of course, the Gandhian movement worked to overthrow that, and British and India again became independent. Although Srila Bhakti Siddhanta said in many ways British rule was better, because they're much more organized and things like that in some ways. And so besides that, so now his father, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he was a magistrate, and in Jagannath Puri we heard how he could see cases very, very quickly. Like now, a court case goes on literally for years and years, and they keep postponing it, and then they need more evidence and more documentation, and it goes on and on. But he would just see one right after another, even like 20 minutes. Okay, here's the verdict, that's it. And so sharp. But the Lord appeared to him, Lord Jagannath, and said, I didn't bring you here to Puri just to deal with court cases. I brought you here to establish Krishna consciousness, to establish Vaishnava Dharma. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said, I can't do it on my own. Like, you have to send somebody from your personal, Bhaktivinoda said, send somebody from your personal stock who has the potency to do this. So then, although he had many children, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he himself, that's another day, but, he was not born in a Vaishnava family, which is very unusual. For most of our acharyas are always born in Vaishnava families. He was not. His family, they were Durga worshippers, and he learned a lot from the Chokidar. The Chokidar was a Ram Bhakta, and he used to go and listen for hours to Ram Leela from him and different ways. So what happened, he himself became a devotee, you can say, although he is an eternal Kamala Manjari in the spiritual world. But so then he finally got, Chaitanya Charitamrita in Bengal. This is the climate. In Bengal, you could not find a Chaitanya Charitamrita. That's how much the teachings of Lord Chaitanya had rather disappeared, and there were so many apa sampradayas. So apa means against. So many philosophies against the tenets of pure devotional service. And so then he prayed like that, and although he had many children, then Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was born, and he knew this is the child that I prayed for. And so he took very special care, just like Srila Prabhupada said that our children are Vaikuntha children. So if we really realized that, we would take great care, to protect them, protect their Krishna consciousness, and to keep them away from media. Media is the killer of Krishna consciousness. But anyway, and other things, So he took great care, and he taught him how to chant japa, gave him japa beads, taught him deity worship, so many things. And then primarily, what did he teach him? About scriptures, like he became, and now Srila Bhaktisiddhanta named Bimala, because he was born, and when Lord Jagannath gave his garland to him when he was 6 months old, but he was called Bimala Prasad. And so what happened was he learned how to actually edit books for Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and everything about publishing books. So, in other words, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta later was able to get a real printing press, and then he put that printing press right next to the altar and installed it like a deity, because we know the importance of transcendental literature. And he was very much, so Bhaktisiddhanta learned all of this, not only writing and editing and proofreading, but also how to work the printing press and everything about it. So there's so much that it's in a very short time that we have. It's difficult to choose what to speak from. So I'll just look in the index and see. One thing is that Srila Bhaktivinoda and he chanted 1 billion names of japa for one period. It took almost 10 years, chanting every day for hours and hours. And those of you who have been to Bhaktivinoda Thakur's house. You saw the room that they chanted in. It's just like a closet, up the stairs. What's it called? His house is Bhavan, something Bhavan. And you go upstairs, and it's all stone, and it's like a closet, but it's all stone. So, of course, the sound, there's no, how if you're just in an enclosed stone room, the sound will be very good acoustics. And plus, in the very, very hot weather, it's a little cooler in there. But he chanted for almost 10 years, preparing himself for his mission, because before that, and it wasn't all he did, he was still preaching and writing while he was chanting, but before that he had studied Jyotisha, astronomy and astrology, and he was the most expert. He would have been considered the best astronomer in the whole world. And what happened, he had students, and then they had this kind of convention where astronomers would present their finds. And when he went there, his students had arranged it for him. And this is, before sannyas. So he was practically done with it, because now he was focusing on scripture and done. But they were like, oh, please, just do this one last one. So what happened, because he had written the Surya Siddhanta, and that had been commissioned by a Christian minister from America to interpret Vedic cosmology as compatible, with the Christian, doctrine and all. So he was so good. When he gave his presentation, there was one man in the audience. He was elderly. His name was Bapu Dev, and he was considered the best astronomer in the world. But when he heard Bhakti Siddhanta, he passed stool and urine right there in his pants, thinking, I'm finished. I'm done, like my whole reputation. But then Bhakti Siddhanta said, that's it. I'm not anymore engaging in this. I'm not studying it. I'm not going to, because I just want to focus on preaching. So now he decides, all right, now that means I need a guru. And he tells his father, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, that I think I need a guru, And he said, well, Gorkishore, he's just arrived here, and I consider that he's the most elevated Vaishnava in the area. He had come from, he was previously in Vrindavan, and he had come there. And he said, you should approach him. So I think we all know he went and told him, I would like to get initiation. And he said, I once initiated a person, and then he cheated me, probably blooped or something. So I'm not ever going to initiate again. And he's like, begged him, please, please initiate me. And he said, all right, well, I'll ask Mahaprabhu. And so then he said, come back. So Bimala came back, and he was actually, at this time, he was called Siddhanta because of his astronomy. His professors, his tutors, they gave him that title of Saraswati. And so now his Gorkishore Das Babaji said, he came back and said, oh, I forgot to ask Mahaprabhu. So then he came back a few days later, and the same thing, I forgot. All right, I'll ask him this time. So then he comes back, and he said, did you ask? He said, yeah, I asked him, and he didn't give me any answer, so I'm not going to do it. And then Bhakti Siddhanta was like, you have to, he just said, my life is finished. I don't see any point in living if you're not going to give me shelter. I'll just go, may as well drown myself. What's the point of wasting my human form of life if I cannot have your shelter. So when he saw like how very much determined he was, then he finally agreed to him. And, you know, like he had such regard for his guru, you know, Bhakti Siddhanta saying, because first of all, the guru said, like, you know, this is incompatible. Like, I don't even know how to write my own name. He was totally illiterate. And he said, and you're like the greatest scholar. How can I be your guru? So he's telling him, you know, like, well, because, you know why? Because, here, I'll tell you, it's very beautiful. So when he finally got sannyas, he said, this is Srila Bhakti Siddhanta, he was Siddhanta Saraswati, so he gave him Bhakti Siddhanta. When out of false ego, I was thinking, I am a great scholar of mathematics and philosophy. Let any big pandit come at any time, day or night, and I will cut his propositions to pieces. At that time, I got the darshan of the lotus feet of Sri Guru Dev. He ignored everything that was previously appreciated in me, my truthfulness, my moral and pious life, and my intellectualism, knowing them to be of little value. When I saw that he ignored whatever was good in me, I realized how good he himself must be, who could neglect so many, quote, good qualities in me. What inconceivable wealth he possessed. Being neglected by him, I understood that there was no one more fallen and contemptible than myself. That was my actual identity. The very things that I adjudged desiderata, like desirable, like wonderful, such as scholarship and upright character, this exalted soul regarded as valueless. I apprehended that within himself this noble personality possessed priceless treasure. I then pondered that either he is extremely puffed up or is exceedingly merciful. I then haughtily said to my Guru Dev, you are a worshipper of that cheater and debauch, Krishna, so why would you be compassionate to someone like me, dedicated to ordinary morality? Anyway, it goes on, but he says, you know, how my guru just smashed to pieces all of my previous conceptions of myself, and he had so much regard. Now, what happened was, you know, Srila Bhaktivinoda was his strong Shiksha guru too, and Gaur Kishore is his Shiksha guru. And so what happened was, in a very short time, in about a year and a half, they both left this world, and he was feeling extremely bereft. But before that, there was the Bali Guy showdown. Like, this was a whole convention. And at this convention, they were to ascertain what's better, a Vaishnav or a Brahmana. And so Bhaktivinoda Thakur was requested to come and speak. But, you know, he got very ill. And it said he probably got ill because he really didn't want to do it, because his guru, like Bhaktivinoda's Diksha guru, he was also of the opinion that, you know, that you had to be a Brahmin and that Brahmanism. So he thought, I can't go and speak contrary to my guru. So he asked Bhakti Siddhanta, can you do it? And so he went and wrote something, and then he came and showed it to Bhaktivinoda, he was sick, he was in bed actually. And then when he read it, he said, now I feel very confident that Mahaprabhu's mission is in the right hands. So it was a whole convention. It was very well organized, and by, the Pujari, Bhaktivinoda had good relations also with Radharaman Temple, and the Pujari, or the head there, he was the mediator. So there's this whole convention, and all these Brahmins get up and they're speaking. Everyone gets time. It's actually like a debate, but one at a time speaks. So then finally it's Bhakti Siddhanta's turn, and he just starts from the scriptures glorifying the Brahmins, and they're all like, yes, we knew it. The Brahmins are the best. And then he ends his talk like this. And if a Brahmin is fortunate, then he can become a Vaishnava. And they all were in uproar, like, what? They jumped up on their feet saying he's bogus, but all of the public that were there, they just rushed to touch his feet, and they were applauding and everything, and they all wanted to touch his feet, so the police had to keep them back, and they took him into the back room, and they dunked his feet in a bucket of water. Then they went out and just sprinkled the water so everyone could get the dust. But anyway, so very brilliant, and so it wasn't easy. So now when they left, it was so difficult for him. He he just withdrew, he didn't go out anymore, and he didn't write anymore, and he just was internal and thinking, what can I do? I have no strength to go on without my gurus. Who's gonna, because anything he wrote, Bhaktivinoda Thakur would critique it. So now who's gonna critique my writing? Who's gonna correct me? Who's gonna smash me? He just felt really despondent. And then one day, he was just sitting. And then he wasn't eating anymore, hardly any prasadam. He wasn't sleeping. He was just in this internal dilemma. So then, I don't know, you can't really see, but I personally love illustrations and paintings, but it's black and white. But I don't know, you probably can't see. But what happened was he was just sitting in his room, and all of a sudden, if you can imagine, all these personalities appeared, spurti. So he wasn't asleep. It wasn't exactly a dream. He was awake. And but a spurti, and right in front of him at the yoga pit, he saw they all came from the east, the Panchatattva, the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Gaur-Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, and numerous other devotees of Lord Chaitanya. And they all spoke to him. They said, Saraswati, why are you worrying? Begin the task of establishing Shuddha Bhakti, distribute Gauravani universally, expand service to Gauranam, Gauradam, and Gaurakam. With unbreached enthusiasm, broadcast Bhakti Siddhanta. We are eternally with you, ready to help. The support of unlimited people, immeasurable opulence, and boundless scholarship await you. Right in the middle. So they're telling him, they await you. Oh, here we go. They await the blessing to serve your mission. All will manifest when required. Come forward with full strength to distribute the message of Mahaprabhu's Prema Dharma throughout the globe. No worldly hindrance or menace will be able to obstruct this undertaking of yours. We are forever with you. So, imagine, so this was in the evening. So then in the morning, the next morning, there were a few disciples there with him, and they try to bring him some prasadam and, whatever they could do. He was not really accepting too much service. But when they went in, here he was like totally effulgent, and he was so much happy. And he told them, go get my manuscript, and right away he started writing again and planning preaching tours. So preaching he did, and very, very quickly he expanded the Gaudiya Math in a very short time. I mean, opened over 100 temples, or 108 temples, in a short amount of time. And then he took sannyas, and so then he just was like full force. Now, these sampradayas, it's hard to even speak of them, like how deviant they were, but how they had such a stronghold. And the reason is because of the culture. Just like now, Indians, they have so much of a culture, like the family thing, like how like Westerners, we all leave home when we're 18, and if we don't, our parents ask us to often, even though, but they like stay together forever, and like someone has a baby and they come, like Shreya's having her parents for 4 months and then his parents for 4 months. I'm like, 8 months of your parents, and they give their parents the master bedroom and everything. Like do you know how many devotees I know, when their parents visit them for 3 days, they don't even stay with them. They stay at the hotel because they don't like the lifestyle, and devotees don't like their lifestyle. But you have culture. So the culture is that you respect the sadhus and that you're dependent on their mercy. So these so-called sadhus took great advantage of that culture, and they would abuse people, and much for donations. And Bhaktisiddhanta, he preached strongly against this, against, like they started charging like an admission fee to enter the temple. You had to pay. And then also, like, they had, and such bogus philosophy, and smarta Brahmanism and Mayavad philosophy. And then the worst one that I read was, like, when your disciple got married, they say, I shouldn't say it, right? I'm almost cringing. They say, Guru, that I should be the first one to deflower your wife for you so you can have Guru Prasad as your wife. Imagine? This was a guru talking like this, and people were so devoted to the guru, they would accept what they say, without common sense. So Bhaktisiddhanta, he was on a mission to expose this, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur, expose all of the different nonsense, all of the different philosophies, the ones where the men all dress up like gopis and they're all in that bhava, and then other ones where they take a lot of intoxication and have orgies and all kinds of stuff. And it was touted as truth, and as spiritual life. So now, what happened was, when Bhakti, also when he was 50 years old, that's when he had his first Vyas Puja. He never had Vyas Puja before that. But he had one disciple, Ananta Vasudev, who was very learned, and there was a book that they had found a scripture, and it explained about Guru Puja, so Vyas Puja, so they had it. So anyway, he started Navadvip Dham Parikrama. He started that for his disciples. So they were going around and visiting all the holy places of Mahaprabhu. And, and so the Martha Brahmins and they were so much agitated by Bhaktisiddhanta's preaching against them. So they had organized, they actually imagined the Brahmins, they organized like the mafia kind of. So here they are, the devotees are having katha. They're going, just like we go in Prikrama and they go to the holy places, and he's speaking katha to them, Gora Lila and all. And all of a sudden, like these, hoodlums come that are hired by the Brahmins, and they just start throwing bricks at them and rocks and things, and they had the deity. Oh, first they started with the elephant. They had the elephant in the procession with the Radha Krishna deities on top, and they started throwing bricks at the elephant's trunk. And the devotees go, "Stop! You can't do that." And so then they ran away, and then 5 minutes later they came back in mass, a lot of them, and they start throwing bricks at the devotees. One child was knocked unconscious. Others were injured, and then what happened was they would run for shelter, and there are a lot of tungas back then. They try to get shelter, and the tungas would be filled with the bricks. So they were in on it too. Anything to make money, right? So they wouldn't give them rides, and they just start knocking on people's doors, and most wouldn't open their doors, but a few did, and they just would run in for shelter, and then one disciple, he got into a house with Bhaktisiddhanta, and he said, "Here, change my cloth, because we're the same size and fair complexion." And he gave him the white cloth, and I'll wear the saffron, and they were able to escape into the night. So several devotees were injured, but none were killed. And it happened twice. That day he said, "Well, we're not going to stop our parikrama for them." And they went, and again, they attacked 2 times. And so what happened was, it was an advantage, because why? People, innocent people, pious people that saw this, because they saw, devotees, people were knocking on their door, devotees, and so then all of the newspapers covered it, how these peaceful devotees are just talking about God and singing the names of God, how they were all attacked, because there was one rich man, he came in his car, and when the second attack, he just called out, "Attack," and they all came out, So it was all planned. So now all of this was written up in the newspapers. So they were trying, to quiet and quelch Bhaktisiddhanta, but instead they gave him fire, because now they lost their credibility, and people appreciated the devotees now. And he thought, they said, "Why don't you take a lawsuit against them?" People were urging him. And he's like, "No, they did great service, because now we got all this publicity." And you know how he and Prabhupada, they would say, "How many times is Krishna mentioned in an article?" Like when we had bad articles in the old days. Now we don't get bad articles because we're not stirring things up enough. we're just going with the flow, the beautiful, what do you call your festival of joy? You have, we're just the festival of joy. Nothing to stir up and to question your activities and so anyway, so this preaching went on, and so then he started having this. He was the first one, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, the first one to have prasadam distribution. we know even today when you go to temples in India, you get prasad, right? Mahaprasad. You get 6 little sugar balls, and it's, we appreciate it, and charnamrita, and you get prasad, and people are very respectful. But he started real prasad, at for Govardhan Puja, a big, huge mountain of prasadam, and then it became a regular thing at their programs. People would get, full plates of prasadam. But he said it's not a gastronomical festival, not just to fill your stomach, because he spoke every day. Before you got prasad, it was a lecture every day, every lecture, not like this, 45 minutes. Like every day, his lectures, a minimum of 2 hours, often 4 hours, and not Leela. He hardly ever spoke Leela. He spoke philosophy, philosophy, like drilling it in, and sitting for 4 hours hearing straight philosophy. Imagine. Like so much so that some disciples, they were farmers, they had come, they were totally illiterate, but by sitting at his feet and hearing every day, they became so learned that people, when they would go out for preaching, people thought they are learned college graduates, just because they knew the philosophy so well. And every day, the devotees would go out for preaching. They would go early in the morning and go door to door and try to distribute magazines and collect donations. And then I think this is a really brilliant thing. Then when they came back for lunchtime, after lunch they had ISKCON. So that means when you're out preaching, you meet somebody, or you may be a new devotee, and you think, and you say to them, I don't know, I'll tell you tomorrow. So you go back at the ISKCON and you present any, that was the main topic. Does anyone have questions? It wasn't like, we have to put our shoes in the shoe room because, don't clutter up the hallway with shoes, it looks bad. Like our ISKCON are often house rules, but their ISKCON were philosophy. Like everyone, so that was so nice because you knew where you were. You asked the question, and then you go back to the person and answer their question. But so we know literature was a very big part of his preaching mission, and it still is. It was Prabhupada's main propaganda. And in the beginning, they didn't have books, and they finally printed Back to Godhead, collated by hand, like 20 pages or something. But I just there's so much also about deity worship, how, we come for darshan every day. Every day, like especially if you live right near the temple, especially, it's essential. But we don't come to see the deities. He said that's just your eye exercise. We come so the deities will see us. So there's the seer and the seen. So we want to be seen by the Lord. That, I've come here. I've come to pay my homage to you and to beg for your mercy and offer my heart to you. We want the deity to see us, that we're here, that we're showing up for them. But let me see. One thing is, let me see. And he also had very many favorite verses that he would chant every day. And let me see this. And one thing about writing and about books, let me see. Hold on 2 seconds. I don't have. Where's the Shastra? Here. He said that it won't be long. let me see, it's really profound, that he was saying it won't be long before these books are going to be translated into all the languages of the world. And now, do you know how many languages these books are translated into? Anybody know? I don't really know, but a lot of hundreds of languages, hundreds of languages. And he said that they're going to be in all the languages, even the languages of the animals and the vegetable tribes. So how that will be, I don't know, but great, and I can't find it now. But anyway, so much. What time is it now? Anybody know? I don't see a clock here. 8:30? It's supposed to end at 8:30? Oh, there it is, right there on the digital. A little bit. Okay, so I know because people want to chant their japa before the kirtan starts. But since it's a fast day, we can spend a little more time. What did you say? Fasting till noon today. I will, yeah, that will be the final. So these Gaudiya mats, and I was talking this morning, Narottam was talking, I don't know if any of you feel a little intimidated by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, because I know I did until I read these books, because he looks kind of stern and he's so erudite. Even he gave a lecture at this big, to these great pundits, they were very learned in the scripture, and then their leader said they can't understand anything he said, they can't understand it, because he had such a great vocabulary, and he was so strict with himself, he observed Chaturmasya, and his father told him not to do it anymore because he was getting sick, and even when he was very ill, he was so determined to preach. But he actually was very soft-hearted too. You have to be soft-hearted to do that kind of preaching. We all heard about how one time the commissioner of the police was approached with a bribe that, we want to assassinate him, and can you not say anything? And the police said, we usually take bribes, but he came and told Bhaktisiddhanta, we usually take bribes, but not for a saintly person. But that's only once. His life was threatened many times. I mean, you just heard about the bricks. And then when he was in Puri, every year they would go, Bhaktivinoda would spend a month at Jagannath Puri, just giving every night a reading in Chaitanya Charitamrita. And there was it's right near, the Tota Gopinath temple. There's another ashram, and they they do that mantra, Nitai Gaur Radhe Shyam, Radhe Krishna, Hare Ram, something like that. And he was so against that, and Bhaktisiddhanta started posting little billboards on all the trees. That is a bogus mantra. It's not. So they were going to assassinate him too, and his father told him, you need to get out of here. Your life's in danger. I want you to go to Mayapur and develop it. He said, Mayapur is nothing but jungle. There was no road or anything. It was a jungle, but there were tulsis growing there. Muslims lived there nearby, and his father sent him to Mayapur to develop it. And now look, TOVP and just incredible. And we know even that road, it's Bhaktisiddhanta Road. One of his disciples built the road from the Ghat to Yoga Pit. And so it was like that, like he actually started developing it. And then we know because Bhaktivinoda Thakur had that vision too, seeing that someday, that someday this will all be developed, and there will be a big temple, and devotees from all over the world will be chanting Jai Sachinandana Gora Hari, Jai Sachinandana Gora Hari, and so the prediction. Now, so towards, since it's getting, there's so much. Before I tell about the end, also, you know, money, collecting money. Things were so much cheaper back then. They were building a temple for like 15,000 rupees or something. I mean, it was a lot. Like now we just go to the MBT restaurant, right, and spend that. But, oh gosh, I'm sorry, that must have been your offense to say that. But anyway, once they were building a temple, so he went and you know, the devotees raised funds. Thank you, sorry about that. I guess. And that's another advantage of sitting my water. So then they brought, one man said, okay, I'm going to give half. Yeah, it was 30. I'm going to give half now, 15, and then I'll give 15 in a couple of months. So he brought it, and Bhaktisiddhanta said, great, now we can do the theistic exhibition. And he said, but this man gave the money for the construction of the temple. Said, that's okay, we'll collect more for the construction. He never held on to money. He right away spent it on construction and prasadam distribution and deity worship and all. So anyway, this theistic exhibition, you know, the Festival of India, it was fashioned after this. But this theistic exhibition, it was like the Festival of India, only more like, you know, the World Fair kind of. It was an entire city block, square, like just think of, a mile. It was a mile, square mile. So go a mile, 4 ways, and it was all within there. And it was like the circus. They traveled on the train. They would spend a whole month at each place, and you know, they were collecting donations for this. And there were exhibitions, like they had. Madhuha used to have the four different ashrams and everything, and then they have in all the different languages. And one thing, the best thing of all, for each exhibit, like there would be all kinds of, you know, diorama exhibits. There would be cultural dance and music, and but the brahmacharis wouldn't watch the dances. The brahmacharis were stationed at all of the preaching places, and he would explain, because there's many illiterate people would come too, and they couldn't read, and they would explain everything to them. So it showed like from all the different regions, like the different dress, the different foods, you know, the different languages, and everything, and of course culminating in Krishna consciousness and everyone getting a literature. But can you imagine the scope of it? And then they pack everything up on a train and go to the next location and set up for a whole month, like incredible preaching like that. So, and so he was very good at spending money as well. And I was talking a little about his soft-heartedness, like at nighttime he would walk in through the ashram, and if any of the brahmacharis didn't have their mosquito net on, he would personally go and hook it up for them, or make sure they had warm clothing and things like that, and take care of them. But they used to, my husband's always telling everyone you shouldn't eat at night, because when the sun goes down, your fire of digestion slows down. But they wouldn't eat until the deities took rest. They wouldn't eat dinner. So the deities take rest at 9 o'clock. So at 9:30 they had their dinner. But everyone had to go to Mangalarti, just like when we were in the old days, everybody had to go to Mangalarti that lived at the temple. And so suppose you're sick. He say, okay, if you're so sick, then you can come and lean against the back wall. You don't have to take a shower. Lean against the back wall for the Mangalarti. Then you can go back to bed. Even if you have malaria or whatever, typhoid fever, And so everyone had to be there for that. And they used to, they didn't chant japa right. They had long morning programs because they would chant bhajans and different prayers and all, till from 4:30 till 6 o'clock, they would have their Mangal Arati. But there's pictures. So I guess I'll move on to the very end of his life, because he left at a young age, relatively. Those of you who are young think it's old. Those of us, it's 9 years younger than I am today. So at only 61 years old, it's relatively young, especially someone who has such a strong mission. But, and he actually did experience some kind of health issues. He had hernia and a lot of different pain, but he wouldn't stop. He just would continue. And it's even when thieves, they would come and he was big on gardens, that there always had to be gardens. So they have their own flower gardens and vegetable gardens. But sometimes thieves would come, and then he'd say, and then one of them got caught, and they brought him to him, and he said, just give him vegetables and give him some money too. He's stealing because he's hungry and all. But let's see here. Hold on. It's funny. Okay, so 111. It's really hard to recount. But at the end, he said, I'm kind of disgusted, and that's why he was leaving early, because for about the last 3 years, he started speaking about leaving. Like when he would speak, he'd say, the residual portion of my life, or now in this last stage of my life, he would say, I don't have much time left, and I don't know how much longer Krishna will keep me here. And he wrote, just as Maharaj Pariksit listened to Bhagavatam in his last days, I too desire the association of devotees in my final days. Where there is no Hari Katha, it doesn't matter how many friends and relatives are there or how comfortable the situation is. In my concluding sojourn, such places and associations strike me as extremely unnecessary and undesirable. So he just, like he said, he wanted to be surrounded by Krishna Katha, Hari Katha. And then I told you how every day the devotees were going out, but one person said to him, it seems like your brahmacharis are losing their edge. And he said, I know. Now it's like cooking, washing pots, taking a nap, getting up, cooking, washing the pots, cooking, eating, washing the pots, taking a nap. And he was like feeling like disgusted, he said, that this is a vital preaching movement, that we have so much work to do. And so he just started like preparing, like often saying things like that. So what happened was, one morning he spoke to Sundarananda and Ananta Vasudeva were his two most scholarly devotees. And then we know Kunjabihari, he told him, I want you to manage. You're such a good manager. And you know, the Chaitanya Mat in Mayapur, they have a deity of him there because he became the Acharya later on. And here's on the end cap. So Kunjabihari was a pragmatic personality, very good at organizing, and sometimes there'd be conflicts between the managers and the intellectuals, kind of. But so what happened was, he told him, he said, he spoke, all right, so the evening of the 18th of December, 1936, in his room at the Sri Gaudiya Math, he spoke to Sundarananda Prabhu and a few Western devotees, his cheeks becoming red with excitement as he forcefully condemned false discipleship in his last talk before he manifested the Leela of being bedridden, never to rise again. So he gave this whole talk, you know, and then, so that was the, December 18th, and then he passed away December 31st. And so for the last, 12 days, he was bedridden. You know, he just was in bed, and he didn't talk. And so what happened, though, he spoke to some people, and he gave them the night before that he left, he did give a talk, you know, and told them how to carry on and how to be strong and not to deviate. And let's see. Oh wow. So he asked. Oh, we know how on the morning of, this is the morning of December 31st, he asked Sridhar Swami to chant Sri Rupa Manjari Pada. So he started singing, and after he started singing, Kunjabihari, he told him stop, and he asked Pranavananda to chant, because Pranavananda sang very beautifully. But he said, he told him, you sing, and then Saraswati, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he said, no, Sridhar Maharaj should continue, because I'm not concerned with melodious intonations, because Sridhar Swami was more of an advanced devotee. And then he asked Naveen Krishna to chant Bhaktivinoda Thakur's song, Tanhu Daya Sangha Tarayate Prana, and the translation is, O Lord, I am extremely unfortunate. My attachment for the holy name has never come about. The heart of Bhaktivinoda is overwhelmed with sadness. And then when he heard that, he just clapped his hand to his forehead, and profuse tears of humility decorated his cheeks, warning of the lamentable plight of being unattached to the holy name. And then Naveen Krishna Prabhu stopped singing. So that was, that was December 31st. So then he told, so that was the night, then December 31st in the morning, he had some devotees gather, and he ordered them to construct a Natya Mandir at Swananda Sukada Kunja, and he asked one disciple, among yourselves, who do you consider most knowledgeable of Siddhanta? And anybody know? What? Do you know? That's another thing, yeah. Ananta Vasudev, they call him Vasudev. Do you know Srila Prabhupada? I mean, he was not a sannyasi, he was a householder, a pharmacist. He was not counted like like in the last book, it has a list of all of his prominent disciples. Srila Prabhupada was not. Srila Prabhupada rose later, because you know how he was giving a lecture and all these, all the sannyasis were in the front with the dandas, and he said, one day, one of you is going to cross the ocean and bring back the whole world. And the sannyasis are thinking, who, me? And then he just looked right at Prabhupada, was sitting right there, and his eyes went right to him. And, Prabhupada's just sitting towards the back and the side and not recognized. We see Prabhupada harbored that instruction in his heart for all of those years, and then came to America much later. So he wasn't recognized except Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said, I have noted him because he likes to hear. And so he said, okay, that's right, Ananta Vasudev. So he should continue to preach Rupa Raghunath Vani, and then Sundarananda Vijaya Vinod, you should complete and publish Vaishnava Manjusha. And then he expressed indebtedness to Bhakti Sudhakar Prabhu and thanked him for his services rendered, and encouraged Rajeshwar Prasad Prabhu of Patna to remain enthusiastic. And he asked that his thanks be conveyed to Sakhi Charana Bhakti Vijaya Prabhu for his service to Sri Dham Mayapur. And he told, I know these are people we don't know, but he told Sri Mad Parati Maharaj, you are a practical man, so look after the mission either in love or rapture. It is good to maintain the same purpose. And and then he said his last words were, all of you present and absent, accept my blessings. Remember that our sole duty and dharma is to propagate service to the Lord and his devotees. So now, the next morning, January 1st, in 1937 at 5:20, see, at that time he was on a oxygen tank. His breathing was slow, so they would take turns sitting near him and with a hand fan and oxygen. And so at 5:20, Pranavananda, it was his shift, and then Krishnananda Brahmachari came in, and so he, when he heard him, he said, "Who's there?" Bhaktisiddhanta said, "Who is there?" And then, "It's me, Pranavananda. It's me, Pranavananda, Prabhupada." And then Bhaktisiddhanta uttered, "Oh, Pranavananda Prabhu." Pranavananda asked, "How are you feeling, Prabhupada?" And Bhaktisiddhanta murmured, "Oh, oh." And as he said that, he started walking out the door, Pranavananda, and then Bhaktisiddhanta said, "Oh, oh, Krishna, Krishna." And just then, Krishnananda said, "Pranava, come quickly, it's over." So that was his, and he just said, "Oh, oh, Krishna, Krishna," and he left his body. It was 62 years and 10 months, so 62 years and 10 months of manifesting unflinching devotion to Sri Sri Radha Krishna in this world. And then in that hour, in that hour, it was now 5:30, you know what happened? All of the clocks and watches in the whole temple stopped clicking. Imagine, all the clocks stopped ticking when he left. So in every, and instead there was wailing and crying and some devotees were sobbing as if their hearts would break, and others were chanting feverishly with eyes flooded with tears. Some swooned, some simply bowed their heads and chanted Harinam. Some were clapping their foreheads and repeatedly calling out, "O Prabhupada, O Prabhupada." So although the sun had just risen, to the disciples present, everything seemed black. So now Kunja Bihari immediately, remember, he's very organized. He organized them, and they performed, the whole ceremony, and they bathed the body and put sandalwood paste, tilak, and new clothes, flower garland, sandalwood paste, and laid him on a new bed, and brought him for the last darshan of the deities he had served for many years. And the devotees circumambulated, and they offered artik and puja, and they continued amid continuous kirtan, and they sang Jai Anilo Prema, and then very quickly news spread to all of his, imagine he has over 100 temples, and the news spread, although they had telephone then, and so at 10 o'clock in the morning they took him for the darshan of the deities, and a huge crowd was waiting, and there they strapped his bedstead to and carried it. Let's see. Then the bedstead with the spiritual body strapped to it was carried from Bagh Bazar to Shidla station on the shoulders of disciples with massive Sankirtan, and it took a while because so many people were the public, they wanted to have darshan, pay obeisances, and they went to the train, and he had already ordered, Kunja Bihari, he said, "I'm reserving a whole train car, for when you get the notice, it has to be ready." So they had a whole train, and then when they got to Krishnagara, the bed was put on the roof of a bus, and then across the river, and then, how did it get across the river? But crossing the river by boat, they continued by foot. So then, and on the train, when they'd go on the train station, whenever it stopped, any disciples who lived near there, they would come also for final darshan, so whatever time was allotted. So anyway, we're extremely fortunate that he is in our lineage, and we're so much connected to him because of Srila Prabhupada being his disciple, and so we owe a lot of gratitude to him, and so anyway, I have a big table out there, and I highly recommend that you have to read these books. They're amongst my very favorite books because you get so much from them, so much history, so much philosophy, so much personality of that great personality. So any comments or questions? Yes, Chaitanya Bhav Prabhu? Oh, Narottam. Oh, okay, Narottam. He always gives me a hard time. Thank you.
One second. There's people watching online that you can
Watching or listening? It's not visual.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for giving such a nice class, Mother
Oh, here it
Kammalini,
is. I hear this.
taking the trouble. I wanted to ask you, as a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, do you feel that Srila Prabhupada, he modeled this movement in any way after the Gaudiya Math, and what connections do you see, like what examples do you see after reading of Srila Prabhupada following Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati?
Yeah, of course. Like Prabhupada said himself, that that everything that I know, I learned from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, and that I have never deviated an inch. Of course, Srila Prabhupada is innovative, just as Bhaktisiddhanta. You know, he didn't do everything exactly as previous acharyas had done, because he was also innovative, just like the great, theistic exhibition. So Prabhupada, in the beginning days, remember their main thing was Harinam Sankirtan. And when my husband joined, they used to go out every day from noon till midnight. Then, New York City, it's like the city that never sleeps, right? You New Yorkers. And so then they would take rest at midnight and get up at 6 o'clock. And what they didn't have, then Prabhupada saw this isn't good, staying up so late, and so we should have Mangal Artik at 4:30. And then later on, somebody suggested, I know when Chutananda went to India, so about Guru Puja. Oh, we didn't have Guru Puja in the beginning. So yeah, we should have Guru Puja. And then we didn't have books to distribute. And so, then books started being printed, and then there was a big push for book distribution, and His Holiness Tamal Krishna Maharaj was one of the biggest proponents of book distribution. And so how imagine writing 1,100 pages, and then your whole manuscript gets stolen, and also your typewriter. So what does Prabhupada do? He doesn't give up. He just starts writing it all over again, wrote the whole Bhagavad Gita again. So now he's I'd like to get it published. And he asked Allen Ginsberg, can you help find a publisher for this? And he goes, no way, we're all hippies, we don't like war, and and the Bhagavad Gita, it's not going to be it's very appealing to the people now. And he flatly told them. And so Prabhupada asked Brahmananda, and he's like, I agree with him. Who's going to want to read Bhagavad Gita? And he went and studied, and he couldn't find anyone. Then they made that record, the Hare Krishna record. And so the record started selling, and it became popular, and every single day they got orders for the record. It was a 45. You probably don't know what they are, but it's a little vinyl record, but on the young people. So then they got an order from somebody that worked at Macmillan Publishers. And so when they got an order, Prabhupada told Brahmananda, go deliver it in person, don't mail it to him, go and deliver it. So Brahmananda goes, and then it happens to be the accountant. And he said, I don't have any jurisdiction over publishing at all. But just at that moment, the head publisher walks into his office, which he almost never did. And so the accountant introduced him to Brahmananda, and Brahmananda said, I have a manuscript by an Indian Swami for Bhagavad Gita. And he goes, really? Is it a complete Bhagavad Gita? Yes, complete. He said, great. I have all the religious books, but I don't have a Bhagavad Gita, so I'll publish it. He didn't even look at it or anything, didn't even want to see it. And he just said, I'll publish it. So imagine Brahmananda, just how ecstatic, but how mystical it was. And then he went back and told Prabhupada, they're going to publish it. And Prabhupada's like, of course, he didn't think it was such a miracle, because everything is a miracle of just how Prabhupada was able to spread Krishna consciousness. But, they had no books, they finally started Back to Godhead, and it used to be ads, but for all the hippie things, and he didn't like it. And then they laid them out, and devotees would, like an assembly line, take one page, and then staple them together. Brahmananda worked at some office, and he borrowed their stapler and staples and all. But yeah, then from there, just after Bhagavad Gita, they all sat in warehouses. They weren't being, I mean, the devotees would get them, and they were in the basement, stacks of first teachings of Lord Chaitanya, then Bhagavad Gita, and how we got, then Krishna book, boxes and boxes sitting. Even now in some temples, they're also sitting, but then just the explosion happened kind of all at once, you know, group of devotees in San Francisco, group in LA, and then Mahatma was in Vancouver, and like all at the same time they discovered that actually you can distribute a big book, you know, like that. Because we used to distribute Back to Godhead, thousands of Back to Godheads. But then we discovered that it's possible. And now what to speak of Krishna life, sets of Bhagavatam, right, everywhere I go. Like yesterday we went to Sam's Club, and I'm like, if those boys were here, they'd be distributing sets of Bhagavatams in the parking lot of Sam's Club. Everywhere they go, sets of Bhagavatam, that's $300. And in the store, like right in Walmart, in the store, they're distributing sets of Bhagavatams. I mean, like, who can imagine? But not only one, Mahotsaha often, every day distributes to somebody buys at least 2 or 3, one time 5 sets. That's $1,500. Some Indian family in an RV, and he said, all right, I'll take one for my wife and I, one for my sister, and I have 3 children, one for each of my children. I mean, people have a lot of, some people have a lot of money, and so it's nothing for them, right? They spend at Disneyland or whatever that much, and the restaurants and the theater. Yeah, like when I was in Toronto, I met so many people. They said, we live in Europe. We just came for the weekend. You know, they're just sitting having dinner, and they're like, hey, let's go to Toronto tomorrow. We can go to the theater and the restaurants, and they have great stores there, Saks Fifth Avenue, and, you know, all these expensive stores. But when you have a lot of money, yeah, you want to spend it. But I'm not like that. I mean, I tell Mahotsaha, I mean, I'm trying to get, you know, $10 is like a lot for me to get, people give me $5 for a hardback Gita, which is not really, doesn't even pay for it. But still, the mentality, like you ask Mahotsaha Prabhu, what do you say? What do you say? And he always says, it's not what you say, it's what you pray. So like that. You could say the same thing that anyone else says, but if we're not praying to Krishna to be empowered, then we're not going to be. So like that. And don't think that you don't know how. Don't think I can't do it. I don't know what to say. Everybody says, I don't know what to say. You do know what to say because you know so much. And the thing is, you don't say, you ask. You let them say. Ask them questions. And then they say, and then when they say, you say back to them. But it's a dialogue, because, you know, I've seen devotees, it's a monologue. Here, we're showing you, here you go, we're taking this Bhagavad. And that person never says a word, you know, where they're from, what their name is. So you connect with them, get them to talk. The more they can talk, not that much, though. You don't want them to tell their whole life story, you know, because you want to talk to a lot of people. But anyway, everyone try it. We have. Okay, so now we are all, you had a question, Chaitanya Prabhu. He's a very good son and friend of mine because we have a reading group, and he's getting his PhD, but still has brought people to the reading group as well, and very erudite. Whenever he's on the call, I get real intimidated because he's so smart. But yes.
Thank you so much, Mataji, for that amazing class. We are so fortunate that you're here during Kirtan 50 for the disappearance of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. So we could hear about him from you. I think you're the best person to talk about him. Mataji, I had this question. So like he was an acharya, and so how did he like balance fidelity to Vaishnav culture and philosophy, but at the same time incorporating changes to stay with the times? Like, if you can say a little bit about that.
Of course, because Srila Prabhupada said, he said, you are Americans, so you have to rack your brains with how to present Krishna consciousness, in innovative ways. So that's part of it. Part of it is taking dictation from Krishna within the heart, and and being sensitive to the times. Like Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the Brahma Samaj. Like now it was this whole group of young intellectuals, college students who are like questioning, what is this, superstition that's there in the Vedas. We know the Bhagavatam has really so many narrations that defy logic, and they questioned it all. So he didn't run away from that. He went right into it and preached to them on. And he how he wrote like he explained like the Das avatars, how that's a kind of evolution. They're into evolution. He tried to incorporate as much as presented in a logical way. So that's how it's feeling the pulse. Like when Prabhupada came, it was the hippie revolution, a time which never before and never again occurred. But how, with the Sunday love feast, that is like something very appealing to young hippies. But now, with all you intellectuals and very, very driven and successful business people, and that's not so appealing to you, and you don't just come for the food anyway. You want like knowledge, right? Transcendental knowledge that makes a difference in your life. So it's like feeling the pulse of who you're talking to, just like even like now, because I'm talking to people who love Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, it's very different. If it was brand new people who never heard of him before, it'd be a little different. But do you know one thing he said? I'll come back for all of you. And so did Prabhupada. So don't make me come back, but I will come back to bring you. So yeah, incredible compassion they have. Oh, 'cause anybody else have a comment? Yes, Prabhu? Jai.
Oh, yes, sorry, 1 second. So,
it's almost time.
we can let the class go until 9:30. We have kirtan starting at 9:30. I know many devotees are fasting, but I just want to mention for any parents with children or anybody that needs to take prasadam, it's being served now. So you're welcome to go, but class will keep going until 9:30.
Well, what time is it now? Oh, there's a clock. Oh, that's
9:12.
long. Really? Should I? We didn't, and we already did the climax.
Hare Krishna, my dear mother. It's a pleasure listening to your class. Anyway, I have a question. How do you reconcile the strictness of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati and the softness and like open-mindedness of Srila Prabhupada in how to preach in the Western world? My question is, I fear orthodoxism. I fear that because in the strictly following of the process and preaching that way. I have seen personally, and personally myself, I cannot reject kind of this. I don't know if it's a strictness, but it's like how to be able to give Krishna consciousness to people that doesn't understand the standard of following strictly, the regulations and all that, but you want to bring them into Krishna consciousness in a more palatable way, without scaring them that the process is so
Demanding.
strict and demanding, that they're gonna just one day go like,
I'm out of here.
yeah.
Right. And it sounds like that's what you do, and that's why you're asking these questions, because you have that experience of doing that, because everyone's an individual. And so we can't give everybody the same treatment, like that. Like you say, if somebody's too delicate, and that by demanding too much, then they will go away, then that's not good. So the thing is that we know the holy name is the most potent, Prasadam and the holy name. So everybody, almost everyone, some people, very few don't even like Prasadam, but the thing is, if people can hear the holy name and be induced to chant the holy name, then Krishna within the heart, right? Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. But Shrinvatam Svatkata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Vijanchastoya Bhadrani Vidunoti Saritsatam. So Krishna's the one that will purify the heart. And that's the thing, it really is a balance. Like I say, like now the pendulum has swung so much to the left. It used to be so much to the right, and here's my right. And, and so like that, how to maintain, because now we're really kind of on our own, I feel. Like in the old days, the temple community was, it was so strong because we all lived in the temple, we all lived in the ashram, and so everybody in the ashram was on the same page in a way. Everybody, nobody would miss Mangal Arati and the whole japa, the whole morning program. And so it was in one sense easier. Now it's totally really up to us. No one really cares whether you're here or not, or how much we do, how much we participate, how much we preach, how much we, like it said, Bhaktisiddhanta's last words, very last words besides Krishna, Krishna, were, to propagate Krishna consciousness. So, so the thing is, so we have to gather that strength from where we find that strength, in the process of hearing and chanting. But I know you're doing it. I was in Alachua and I saw one girl singing with them, and Namal told me that you cultivated her and all, and now she loves kirtan, her name? Diana? So like that, somebody that if you told her you have to move in the Brahmatrini ashram and, do everything. But now they have Krishna House, yay, which is, we need to make a little walkway for people coming in and out. You know what I mean? So, of course, people like Krishna Life, they're super conservative, I'm sure, yeah. Like I say, at least they're doing that. He goes, at least, forget about at least. Why at least? Why not, the highest standard? Why at least? Why bringing it down all the time? Down, down, down. Anyway, they have super strict standards. But it's not that strict. That's how it was in the old days, too. So anyway, so keep up the good work, and you can teach us. you want to come and tell us how to do it? But, the thing is, I feel we're afraid to speak strongly, and afraid that people will, like that, go away. But we must speak strongly, I'm not very good at it, I don't think, but, we have to at least let people know that there is a higher standard, and there is great rewards. It's not like a punishment, but we get great rewards through austerity. Or like austerity, people usually say, "Oh, it's hard. It's supposed to be hard." That's what austerity means. A little bit hard. It's uncomfortable. It has to be uncomfortable, otherwise it's not austerity. Like for some kirtaneers, it's not austerity. They just love it so much, and they just sit there for hours and hours and hours. And then others, we have to force ourselves, because we know it's the Yuga Dharma, and that we must do it. And then, then there's a taste develops. But many things, taste or no taste, you still do them, and then you still get a taste like that. And like the kirtan is fueled by japa, and japa is fueled by kirtan. Indra said that, right? Yeah, so both are there, are necessary. Anybody else have a comment or question or appreciation? Yes.
I wanted to see if there was anything from the ladies' side of the room. Just check in with the ladies.
Oh, there's a lady.
Hare Krishna Mata, please accept my humble obeisances.
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances.
This wasn't on something that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur mentioned, but it's along the discussion that we've been having. So I've heard that we must keep the principle, while spreading the movement and preaching, we must keep the principles, like the core foundation of ISKCON and Gaudiya Vaishnavism, prevalent, and change the details to suit the time, place, and circumstance. And that failing to keep the principle is dangerous. But I've also heard that failing to change the details is even more dangerous than changing the principle itself. Is that true? And if so, how is that true?
Well, as we mentioned, that it's that people will go away and they won't take up the chanting of Hare Krishna. If we are still talking to, like, let's see, someone was telling me yesterday that something is still, it was Narottam, something still, it's still the way it used to be. And that people just won't relate to it, if we don't change the detail, if we don't adapt to the times, to the mentality. I mean, like, before there was no such thing as computers. Imagine, there were no iPhones, there was no Instagram. None of that existed. And so, if we were like, no, we're not, we're going to stay away from that. But that's the principle of Yukta Vairagya. Rupa Goswami said we utilize everything in Krishna's service. So, just like Prabhupada used the dictaphone, Prabhupada crossed, and Bhakti Siddhanta, it was, like I mentioned in the very, very beginning today, how much adherence to the culture. And the sadhu culture was you never wear shoes and you never ride in a car. But Bhakti Siddhanta, every temple had a car. They had a temple car for preaching. He said, not for going to the doctors, not for going to the gym. He didn't allow them to go to the gym. And he said, only for preaching. And then that was shunned upon. He wore a coat, and he doesn't have, but he wore his coat, and this is an English coat, that was shunned upon. Sadhus don't dress like that. Sadhus don't wear shoes and these chairs, and you know what I mean. So, but he's there. I don't care. he's aiming for the class of people, the intellectuals, because the intellectuals will influence the mass of people. So you talk, differently to the intellectuals than the mass of people, like Prabhu was saying, Premananda. Go on. So, is that okay? What were you reading? Whose quote is that?
I wasn't reading. I heard it in a lecture that was given by Maharaj in ISKCON.
Oh, Amaraj?
Yes, the sannyasi.
You don't want to say his name? Oh, is he a controversial
No,
figure?
Swayam Bhagavan Keshava Swami.
Oh, everyone loves him. Anything he says is cool. And he's so practical, right? Like practical advice. Yeah. Anything else? If I knew I was going to have a long time, I would have spaced it out differently. What do you want him to say? Okay, so anybody else have anything that you, because you all have a relationship with Bhaktisiddhanta, we all do, our grandfather or our great-grandfather. And so Prabhupada said the grandfather is more merciful than the father. And plus children are better behaved for their grandparents than their parents, usually. But yeah.
Mataji,
Okay.
Just one quick question.
Oh, here you are.
So we are here for Kirtan 50. We'll be doing a lot of Kirtan. So any instruction from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati or in general that we should keep in mind, as we are doing Kirtan for all these days?
Yeah, and you know how, he gave a lot of instruction about kirtan, and also the main thing, purity is the force. The more, especially if you're a leader, then the more that you can be internally pure, the more potent it'll be. Like, one may sing very beautifully, but this is a kind of hard one, even if someone doesn't have a great voice, but they have devotion, then, that is very potent. So trying to, it's not for my enjoyment. That's the main thing. I'm not singing, I really, how on our reading, I even said, don't keep saying, I really like this. I say, instead say, I appreciate this point, because it's not what we like. So the kirtan is, ta-da, for the Lord's pleasure. It makes him so happy, and Srimati Radharani, they love hearing their holy names. And so if we remember, what's going to make them happy, what's going to make the Lord happy, not just, and then a byproduct, just like any service, the byproduct is the feeling that we get from engaging in the service. But main thing is, focusing on, it's not just like a concert for my pleasure. Right? You want to say a word about that? Here, give him the mic. Oh.
I know Ayendra Prabhu quoted, this is from Bhaktisiddhanta, I think he said, to the degree that one believes or doesn't believe that the solution to any problem, both materially or spiritually, is Hari Kirtan, to that degree one is an atheist.
An atheist?
Yeah, so if you don't believe that it is, then so as you gradually see that reality, that any problem I have, I should perform Hari Kirtan is the solution, then you're becoming more and more God conscious.
More theistic. Jai, thank you. That's great ending note. So now we'll all get ready for the yagya. All glories to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki.
Jai.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Jai, Srila Prabhupada. Her Grace Kamalini Prabhu ki. Jai. Jai. So in a few minutes, we will start with Kirtan again. And the schedule for the morning today, first we'll have Kirtan at 9:30 with Driti and Adriti along with their family. At 10 a.m. we'll have Kirtan with His Grace Bhadra Prabhu. At 10:45, Keshava and the Radha Govinda Kirtan Mandali, and at 11:20